WC.
Yeah, fantastic game from Hans. He has the advantage. He's close now to making it to those playoffs, but Sina with white, especially dangerous, has really dynamic openings at his disposal. With white, he has taken down the likes of Magnus Carlsen in blitz games before. Can Sina now defeat Hans in a 10-minute game to stay alive?
He's gone on to win plenty of those title Tuesdays with little time on the clock. He needs to bring on that beast mode in this one. Hans Niemann looking extra chill today, I have to say. It starts with the King's Pawn opening, and it is going to be the 4 Knights defense.
Okay, this does have a drawish reputation. He's in a must-win situation. Sina move ahead. He looks up. This is Black's most popular move in this 4 Knight Spanish. So what does he have up his sleeve? Is he going to move his bishop back? Is he just going to castle his king? He takes a pawn in the center. This is very sharp stuff. This is old romantic chess. I remember games being played years and years ago in this. A mistake already from Hans Niemann, as maybe it was better to attack the knight in the center first. White a pawn up temporarily. Black cannot regain it yet.
Ooh, that would mean the queen, the white queen coming into the game. There would be a lot of double attacks. The king, absolutely unsafe at the center. It would be white to the first party right there. Knight takes pawn. It is going to be a massive blunder at this point. You could step up with your queen all the way to h5. If you're feeling extra romantic, you could even sacrifice knight takes pawn immediately.
Wow, this would be the target, and as you say, Tanya, even better moves may be available, but after pawn stepping up to g6, white can go back. There's simply no way to control this line. You can defend your knight, the knight gets hit. If it ever moves, the white knight jumps out the way, discovered check, discovered attack on the queen as well, and this would be fatal. No way to escape this one. So if you can't take this pawn back in the center, something's gone wrong. Hans Niemann, a pawn down, caught by surprise, and a minute down too.
And he rushed with that decision just a move ago to trade that knight for the bishop. That was a critical moment where you take a pause and try to find your way when you've been surprised early. Sina knows it. He senses it. He's locked in right now, understanding that Hans has been thrown off. This is his chance to seize the initiative right out of the opening in a trailing game.
Huge opportunity. That's what you want in any of these games. The format here at the EWC, the first surprise is like gold dust. It's at a premium. If you can land a first surprise, it often gets you a couple of extra minutes on the clock. The fact that he's a pawn up as well is fantastic news in his comeback attempt. Hans now needs to maybe bank on the bishop pair. It's not over. Long-term compensation of the bishops. If he can get the black king to safety, get castled, avoid any immediate disaster, the game is still very much alive.
What Hans really wants to do to keep the game alive would be to try to push the knights back. They're far too advanced into Hans's camp. Push that c-pawn forward, push the d-pawn forward. But the problem is that he's down a pawn. And unless he plays with momentum, with tempo, finds his initiative with the bishop pair that he has soon enough, it's just going to be an extra pawn for Sina, and you can see him get excited about his chances.
Yeah, his heart rate was at 170 in the previous game. It's still around the 150 mark, Sina. He's still very excited about his chances. He knows he's going to be a pawn up now, guaranteed after Hans's last move. Black is ready to castle, but white can play very modestly here. Just defend the central pawn, keep things nice and steady. The hard work's been done with this opening surprise. Just 6 moves in, Hans in big trouble.
Hans has to be kicking himself right now. He just unnecessarily went into this line of just grabbing that bishop instead of lining up his queen against the knight, which would have kept everything under control. And you can see it on him that he knows that this is not how he should have gone. In a game, he needed only a draw.
Yeah, it feels like a brain fart. He knows this opening. Surely he studied it before, but he just got the order mixed up, Hans Niemann, and finds himself in a bit of trouble. Move ahead here, just needs to defend his central pawn. We've all been there. Opening move orders, they're so tricky. How much memorization is needed, as you need to play quickly as well. Hans just getting the balance slightly wrong, but game still on. He's going to get castled. Niemann here, and Sina move ahead. Slightly surprised he drops back his knight without it getting attacked, but that's the move he's chosen.
I'll tell you the one idea that Hans has to achieve counterplay as quickly as possible is to strike with d5, and he does it. He needs open diagonals for his bishop. He needs piece activity to compensate for that pawn deficit that he currently has. And Sina needs to make a decision. Does he trade? Does he push his pawn to consolidate the center?
Yeah, this is decision time for the teenager. This is actually quite a typical scenario, Tanya, where, especially in e4, e5 openings, Black ends up gambiting a pawn, here maybe by accident, but getting the bishop pair, opening the center. The light squared bishop for Black might be sleeping right now, but it becomes a very strong piece later in the game. So whether he does trade off, whether he does just defend his pawn, Sina move ahead. There we go. I think a good decision, maybe keeping things slightly more closed with this pawn push, opening up his own bishop in the meantime. He's making it less easy for Hans to get those open diagonals, those open lines.
And Hans has to be energetic about his play. Speaking of open lines, might be time to get the rook to that central file, just forcing Sina's hand for a trade at the center of the board, doubling down, tripling down on an attack on that e4 pawn right now, if you're Hans Niemann. But it has to be said that trailing the match, this is a dream outcome from an opening for Sina.
Exactly. He couldn't have hoped for more. 9 moves in, pawn up. He's up a minute and a half as well. In a comeback attempt, must-win situation, this is pretty much the maximum from any opening. Hans, meanwhile, yeah, he's going to be looking for counterplay. In a way, it's kind of the burden's off. He can't just play boringly for a draw here, so you don't have to worry about the mind games. You just have to look for good moves and counterplay. As I like your move, just shuffle the black rook into the center. Maybe some of the black bishops can come out. Yeah, Hans feeling the heat. I think still flustered by those kind of surprises he faced early on.
The candidate moves, the options going on in Hans's head as his eyes dart across the screen, looking for ways to create counterplay right now. Does he keep the tension on the board? Does he first trade before bringing the rook onto that central line? Is the rook move that he goes for a shake of his head that gives away exactly how uncomfortable he's feeling on the inside?
Exactly. It felt like he was chewing that gum slightly faster than before, Hans, but he does find a good move. White's knight in the center is undefended, so potentially some tactics, but Sina Movahed. What has he spotted? Is he just going to retreat his knight, defend his knight, trade off in the center? Still multiple options here. He definitely doesn't want to open things up too quickly, but yeah, he still has that extra pawn to cling on to.
And it's moments like these that experience really counts, David. You know, for Sina at 16, this is the biggest stage of his young career. He needs to keep control of his nerves. He has to make sure that he plays the position and not think about the outcome. And one can't understate how difficult that is at this point.
Exactly. Definitely the biggest game of his life, the biggest match of his career, as getting into the playoffs would be historic for him. Nobody would want to face him if he gets it to that next stage. Everyone fears the kids these days, but yeah, still, he needs to win this game to take it to Armageddon. That's going to be difficult too, as he does trade off in the center. Hans likely to take back. He could also move his dark squared bishop out the way to attack White's knight in the center, but it's going to be a pawn down. At least things have opened for Black's pieces.
You want to capture that pawn with your knight. Slightly surprising that Hans takes a pause here. I'm just wondering if he's looking at some bishop jumps with an X-ring vision on that E-file, hitting that white knight right now. Hans trying to complicate matters. Is it going to be knight takes pawn? Or maybe a bishop move?
Yeah, maybe he's double-checking as well that he can get away by with taking that pawn in the center. Black does have some vulnerable pawns on f7. I'm not sure the tactics work, but he's definitely double-checking things right now. Otherwise, he would have taken back this pawn instantly, as the knight could take. It does. I think he was just checking that knight takes pawn wouldn't work here. If Black's king were to take, this would be a deadly double attack. Black's king would be forced out into the center, where it might get mated, but Black would be able to flick in knight takes knight, hitting the white queen, and when the dust settles, Black has an extra piece. So that is impossible for White. Hans had to take some time calculating. He was correct, and now White can still try moves like bringing the queen out, but they aren't as powerful as before. Black's bishop is going to defend that weakness.
And the knight at the center of the board. That's a beautiful move you're highlighting right there. Once the bishop comes out, it just feels like Hans will finally finish development and start looking for that coordination. For now, it is Sina who gets the bishop out first. And we see bishop arriving at the center of the board. For Hans, rook coming on to that central line. For Sina, it's now key to try to get as many pieces off the board as quickly as possible. The problem is that light squared bishop that Hans has is going to remain unchallenged for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to trade it off. It's going to be hard to eliminate it. The one dream here for Sina Movahed would be to trade off one of the bishops for his own knight, or maybe his dark squared bishop. A dark squared bishop exchange would be fantastic, but the knight is jumping. No trades yet. It's hitting an undefended pawn, threatening a fork as well. The c2 pawn vulnerable, that has to be defended by a rook.
You just can't allow the knight to land there with a fork on that moment. And I believe once you defend that pawn, Hans Niemann will not stop. He will start kicking Sina's pieces backwards with the f-pawn moving ahead, targeting that central knight as well. You have to play with momentum again. For Hans, that will be key. We see the move on the board, and Hans does hit that knight. Only one good square.
Only one good square. It has to slide back to g4. It has to go to the right here, going another way. There might be tactics in the air. Maybe you can get away with it, but I think knight back to the g4 square would be safest. And Sina Movahed burning a bit more time. Still looking good for him. He does play that move. The best, the most simple. But Hans, it does feel like the last couple of moves, creating some threats. He's trying to change the flow of the game.
And the rhythm of that knight. Now it's targeting another square at the center of the board. Also notice how it defended the b7 pawn from the eye line of that queen. Sina, huge tactics on the board. And maybe we call this out, David, because there's a big trick right now with Sina needs. He has set it up. Hans needs to be careful about a potential exchange sack if you take your eye off the ball.
Ooh, exchange sacrifice on the board. If Black makes a careless move, let's say Black makes a pawn push. Wow, Tanya, I hadn't spotted this at all, but Hans had, and that is important. Rook takes bishop was the threat. Rook takes rook, and now a knight check. This is a pin, the g-pawn pin. The king has to go into the corner, and there would have been a devastating fork. This X-ray vision on the g-file caused, therefore, Hans to find the best move, putting his king in the corner. But now, bishop lining up with the queen, an attack, and the game continues. But definitely Sina throwing in those tactics, showing off his sharp vision there.
Love that bit of show off, and he does defend that knight on g4 now, h3 on the board. Hans also jumps in with his knight, making sure that Sina's rook remains passive, defending the pawn. There is a lot of piece activity to counter that deficit, and I don't think it's so easy for Sina to go hunting for that second pawn. The white queen feels a bit miserable there.
Yeah, the white queen miserable, overworked. She'll be overloaded, defending too many pieces. She might get attacked. Black's knight might be coming over to f5 to hit that white queen. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be too flashy here, too ambitious. Just the hard work's been done. You're a pawn up. Keep things simple, keep things safe. As Sina Movahed here needs to find the right way forward. But Hans, it definitely feels like this is the best position he's had since he blundered that pawn.
He's back in the game, David. It has to be said. He's setting up all these ideas of knight f5, chasing the queen to a really ugly square on h2. We might even see that being played out right now. The white queen will need to stay connected to the bishop on c7. Hans is 2 pawns down, but incredible piece activity right now. And he starts with hitting the knight on g4, which will be forced to retreat in front of the white rook.
Wow, he's so brave, Sina Movahed, to take a second pawn to kind of discoordinate his pieces like this. The black piece is so active, the white bishop stuck in no man's land. If he gets away with this, he's just winning 2 pawns up. But that white bishop trapped now. There are tactics. The white bishop gives itself up. Maybe there were better moves, but now he's going to get a bunch of pawns, maybe even 4 pawns for the piece he's just sacrificed.
This is absolutely wild. Sina is down a piece right now for 4 pawns. Mathematically, it works out. And there's another one under attack, h5. Watch out, that falls with a check as well. This isn't as easy as the bar indicates for Hans Niemann.
Wow, I'm surprised that the eval bar says black is so much better. It looks scary. The black king's so open, minimal shelter. But black's bishops, if they can cling on to that h-pawn, they might come to life later. Black still has so much activity. White's attacking with a mere queen alone. That's not enough. And long term, the computer's saying that the piece is better than the pawns. Will that pan out in this game?
It's 4 extra pawns for a piece, and that just feels like a pawn too many. And the next few moves extremely critical for Hans. Will he fall back with the bishop to defend that h5 pawn? Instead, he offers a queen trade, dropping a 5th pawn. Picked up with a check.
Wow, Hans really doesn't care about pawns, doesn't value those pawns as highly as most people. The white knights now are coming. The queen trade, I think he was just gambling on Sina, maybe getting a bit careless there. Of course, the queen trade was never going to happen. White's playing for the attack, and the queen has to go home. That's to prevent any knight checks. There were knight forks in the air if the queen had gone to the wrong square. But everything's defended for white. 5 pawns. It's an army, a horde of pawns here.
I just don't understand how Hans is going to keep this under control right now. He's only got 1 apiece for those pawns. White's knight ready to jump on the board. But first, Hans Niemann, you must retreat with your own knight in this position. He trades, falls back. The white knight about to hit the black queen. Watch out, there are checks on the G line. Rook lifts for potential attacks.
Wow, it's white with the attack, white with the material advantage. Hans also down on time. The rooks are coming. The rooks are arriving now. All of white's pieces so actively placed.
David, it really looks like Sina's making a strong case for a comeback in this match right now. It's the extra pawns that we've got, but also the attack against the black lone king. No pawn wall in front of it, and 1 by 1, we're going to see Sina's pawns march up the board. The queen falls back, keeping connected to the king. Beautiful knight on f5.
Beautiful knight and f5. That's the perfect square when attacking for any knight. And now the white rook rides up the board as well. I loved his h4 pawn push. Pushing the white pawn meant that the black knight could not leap forward, make any attacking movements there. And black is stuck. Black is pretty much boxed in. The king in the corner, the pieces around it, just lacking pawns here.
And you know what Sina has just hinted at? He wants to double up on the D line and then infiltrate with that rook to the 7th rank. Stopped for now by Hans Niemann. Sina just consolidates all his pawns. Hans can do nothing with his pieces. Look at the restrictions that are there on the squares. Every square, every jump controlled by Sina.
Exactly, and his last move, so calm and collected. He gets his king off the diagonal. This is the ultimate definition of control in chess. Minimal counterplay allowed. There we go, Tanya, your idea. Lined up the rooks, the black knight jumps, still no threats. The white queen slides, threatening that black knight, threatening some checks on the diagonal. He's getting ready for that final assault. Sina move ahead. The black queen's coming in. Is that a bluff? Hans Niemann, this bar goes sky high. Totally winning position for white, but where is the knockout blow?
And can Sina find it wherever it does exist? One feels it has to be on the right side of the board. It looks like Sina spotted an idea that he really likes. He's got about 2.5 minutes on the clock. Can he deliver the knockout move right here, right now?
He finds it, the best move on the board. Sina move ahead. That's a family fork hitting the black queen, hitting the rooks. The bishop can take the knight, but the white queen will replace it. Black only has one real check here with the queen. The white king is very safe behind its wall of pawns, and this is winning. Black's knight is going to be hanging when the dust settles. If the black bishop ever moves away, he's winning material, even more material than before. Leans back, almost a celebration from Sina. He's going to give a check. He's got to be careful not to take the black knight yet. The rooks have to stay connected, but he's totally winning now.
Wow. But Sina still needs to put the finishing touches. Very nicely pointed out. With the D1 rook hanging, instead he defends it. He moves forward. Now the black knight under attack. Hans still hanging on in this game as he puts further pressure on that white centralized rook. Is Sina going to go for more? Will he try to checkmate Black's king? Tactics everywhere, David, in this one.
Oh, all you need is one check on the H file. That line in front of the black king, it's open. You can check with the queen, but the black rook blocks. You need to check with your rook somehow. You need to somehow topple those defenses. Not easy, though. His rook is attacked. The black queen is still quite nicely poised, defending and hinting at some checks. He's looking a bit nervous now, Sina. His heart rate up at 170 almost. This is the big moment. Will he be able to convert? If not, disaster.
And that disaster could mean going on the defense. If you move your rook, Hans is ready to line up the black rook against the white queen on the F line and threaten his own ideas. We might see a rook F8 hitting that white queen, dislodging it. And white's king isn't all that safe. Hans slowly getting back in the game.
Wow, this is the critical thing about playing these experienced grandmasters like Hans Niemann. You've got to beat them 100 times. You've got to knock them down so many times. They do not fall easy. The black queen is sneaking in now. Hans with some big, big threats of his own. Exclamation mark. The winning advantage is gone, Tanya. White's still better, but momentum on black side. And the clock advantage almost gone too. This is suddenly such a random position. Anything could happen.
It really could, but only one result is what Sina needs. A draw means Hans takes the match. He does put his king to the center of the board, struggling to find a better move, and Hans can simply check that king and ask for ideas. The king needs to stay connected to that F2. Hans giving a rook. Why did he do that?
What has Hans done? That was so unnecessary. He's miscalculated. The white king is running. There's no more checks. He gave up a rook for nothing.
There's a checkmate in one being threatened on the F2 square, but it's going to be Sina first to the black king. Right now, queen F2 is the only threat you need to take care of. The white king starts running away, and Sina is up an exchange.
Wow, and look at that celebration already before the game's even ended from Sina move ahead. King of the hill, king in the center, marching to victory. He's so much material ahead. As long as he doesn't allow a sudden perpetual or a sudden checkmate and doesn't get his king trapped, he's about to win this game. But the clocks will still play such a big role. That's almost guaranteed here. He gives a check. What is coming next?
It's the kind of position where every move is a high-cost, high-responsibility move. You could be walking into a checkmate. He gives a couple of checks. But for now, Hans's king is absolutely safe. And repeating, giving checks is not enough. Sina has to keep the game going. Hans is ready with his own ideas. Queen takes pawn coming in next.
Wow.
This is not over, David.
It's far from over. There might be one big final twist here. We've seen some shocks and a big mistake from Sina Movahed. Advantage gone again. He's walked into a double attack. His king has to step across, but now the black rook is coming. White is about to lose some material, and a bang, a table smash from Sina Movahed. He's lost his queen. It's a flag fest now. Hans Niemann, queen and knight versus rooks, is winning.
And it's all about the clock now. What a turnaround. This has been 14 seconds for Sina, 17 for Hans. He continues to bring on the speed. Hans does as he's back right into the game.
And the draw is enough. Can he continue checking with the black queen? The king moves. Queen off the board now. It's knight versus pawns. Hans should have this in the bag, but time, the clock. We've got to watch that clock. 5 seconds for Sina Movahed.
Oh my god, there's no time. The pawns are racing up the board. Sina's trying, but he doesn't have enough time or enough pawns left anymore. Hans needs only a draw. The knight's coming towards it, and Hans is about to win.
And Hans cannot lose. There we go. It's a draw. Insufficient material. Look at that celebration. Hans Niemann moves on, gets to the playoffs. Sina Movahed, so close. But wow, what a chaotic finish we just saw.
What an absolute roller coaster. What a match this was, up and down. Absolute entertainment, just as Hans Niemann always does. Gives us the drama.